Hi, this is Kamera again. We're on day number 231, Jeremiah chapter 26 through 29. So much content, guys, but I'm enjoying Jeremiah, man of God, speaking the word of God. You guys already know of judgment, but God is telling them to turn from their wicked ways. And we find that there's a lot going on now. Some people are in Babylon even at this moment during this time. So God has Jeremiah to go to the temple of God. This is during a time where a lot of people from all over Judah are visiting the temple to worship. So Jeremiah goes and he stands in front of everyone and he tells them that if they don't turn, then God is going to uh, destroy this temple. And so what gets me is when God told Jeremiah to go tell this message, he tells Jeremiah to just tell them again, perhaps they'll change their heart and start to obey God again. Isn't that something? This is what God is telling Jeremiah. Perhaps the people would change their hearts. Isn't that something? So I love the fact that God give us self-will, and he still hopes that we will change our hearts and back to him. You know how people always say, well, God knows what I'm going to do before I do it. God still hopes they change their heart. That says a lot to me. And so Jeremiah delivers his message. The priests and the prophets accuses Jeremiah of being a traitor. So they seek counsel and they want Jeremiah dead. They want to kill him. And so Jeremiah, he speaks to the officials and to the people and say, listen, God really sent me this message. You could do with me as you will, but just know that the responsibility lies on your hand as well as the people in this city if you do me harm, because God really sent me. So Jeremiah, what he tells the officials and the people is that God says that if you stop sinning, begin to obey him, he will not send the disaster. He will change his mind. Really, God? Seriously? What a merciful God, right? So the officials and the people say he doesn't deserve to die after a message like that. And so there's this wise old man who stands up and he recalls a time when Hezekiah was king. And Prophet Micah was sent to deliver a message that God was going to lay down Jerusalem. He was just going to destroy Jerusalem. And so what the people did was first of all, the priest and prophet was like, well, did they kill Micah? And they're like, no, the people actually listened to Micah. They turned from their wicked ways. They started worshiping God and they begged God for mercy. And this old man was like, we're about to cause some problems to ourselves, some harm to ourselves. So isn't that something? This old man is telling them that no, Hezekiah didn't kill him. The people actually listened and turned from their wicked ways and did right. We are in trouble if we don't do right. And so get this, around this time, Prophet Uriah was going around giving that same message to other people. Realize God had other prophets, other servants, but what we're focused on is Jeremiah being that prophet who gives messages as well. And Jeremiah, we heard from the beginning he was going to be talking to priests. He's going to be talking to prophets, nations, kings, everyone. So this is Jeremiah's account of what happened. So Jeremiah, and also Uriah was prophesying the same disasters as Jeremiah. King Zedekiah sent for this prophet, and he had this prophet killed. Can you believe it? Just because he didn't want to hear what was being said. And so it was the same message that Jeremiah was sending. And you even heard this wise old man tell you. And you heard how the people said they didn't deserve to die, given that message from God. Same message. But Uriah, this prophet, he did die. So get this. Further along, Jeremiah, God tells him to go and get this ox yoke and fasten it around his neck with leather straps. So he does that. And then he has Jeremiah to go and send these messages. These ambassadors of these different nations were visiting King Zedekiah of Judah. And Jeremiah was instructed to go and give them a message to send to their kings of those nations. A lot of nations. The nations were Edom, Moab, Ammon, Tyre, and Sidon. This message also included the king of Judah, who is Zedekiah. And the message that they were supposed to deliver, God says that with his great strength and power, he created the earth and everyone in it, including the animals. And he said he gives what he wants to whomever he wants. And he says, tell your kings that he's giving every last one of those countries to King of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. They are to submit to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Get this. He says, my servant, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Every last one of those countries are to submit to him. And those who do not submit become slaves for Nebuchadnezzar and his people, then those nations will die of disease, of famine, of war, until the king of Babylon has completely taken over everything. So, yeah, every nation to King Babylon. All these nations are supposed to serve him, his sons, and all that. It's amazing because when you've read the story of King Nebuchadnezzar and you see this in the book of Jeremiah, it's just how everything is working together, how it worked. It's just awesome to see. It really is. And God says that even the animals will be under Nebuchadnezzar's control. He wants all these nations to be under Nebuchadnezzar, and all the animals will be under Nebuchadnezzar's control. That is awesome. All nations will serve him, his sons, and his grandsons until the time ends. And then when that time ends, other nations, great kings will conquer Babylon. God says he will punish any nation who refuses to serve Babylon. Isn't that something? That is serious. That is serious, serious, serious. And so, yeah, there's a lot going on here, guys. It's so much. I'm really, really enjoying these messages. And so, get this. He said, don't listen to those prophets. Don't listen to those lying prophets. I'm telling you. Don't listen to them when they tell you that everything's okay. They're not okay. Yeah. So later, Hananiah, he is a prophet of Gibeon, and he approaches Jeremiah in the presence at the temple, in the presence of the priests and other people, right? And so what he tells the people and the priests, anyone who's present, who's listening, that God is going to deliver those people currently exiled in Babylon. He's going to bring them back within 2 years back home. And including King Jehoiakim, him and all the peoples, all the treasures that were taken, all of them within 2 years, God is going to bring them back. This is what Hananiah is saying. Hananiah, remember, Jeremiah already gave the message. So Jeremiah says, what do you do, right? Because, Hananiah is telling them what people want to hear. Jeremiah is telling them what they don't want to hear. So this is how Jeremiah responds. He says, ancient prophets preceded me, and they spoke of many nations, of warnings that were giving, of disasters and diseases. And he says, so if a prophet predicts something positive like peace, they must show he is right. And get this, only when the prediction comes true can we know he is really from God. And that is true. Only when the prediction comes true. And this is the crazy part. Jeremiah's been prophesying for a long time. When he first started, there were no exiles. Currently, there are exiles in Babylon. They weren't there before. There was no destruction and disaster then. So get this. Later on, see, Jeremiah, after Jeremiah said what he said, then Hananiah, he takes that yoke that was wrapped around Jeremiah's neck, and he reiterates the entire prophecy, gave this symbolic things, just like this yoke is split into two. God is going to restore the children of Israel back in 2 years. And after Jeremiah just went ahead and left him where he was and left that temple area. He left him. Soon after that, God sends Jeremiah to Hananiah and told Hananiah, again, that prophecy that was going to happen to Babylon was going to be over all those nations. He told them all of that again, and how everyone is going to submit to King Nebuchadnezzar, even the wild animals. And then this is the thing, guys. God also tell Hananiah that he rebelled against God. And this is the thing. People believe, of course, people are going to believe Hananiah. It sounds good. 2 years. Oh, okay. But get this. God said, because you did that and people believed you, you're going to die that year. Hananiah died 2 months later. Isn't that something? So get this. God tells Jeremiah to send letters to Babylon, to the people who are currently exiled into Babylon. And this is what God tells him to the elders, the priests, the prophets, the people, all of them who are there. He tells them to build homes. He tells them to plant to stay there for a while. Plant, eat from the gardens, eat from the fields. He says, marry and have children. Marry your spouses to other people, and that way you have grandchildren. But you are to stay there. And he says, multiply. I love this part right here because that's something to think about. He says, work for peace and prosperity, the prosperity of that city. He says, pray to God for it. Forget this. For its welfare determines your welfare. You want your city to be prosperous and you want it to be peaceful. And you pray for it because its welfare determines your welfare. That's something, right? Don't listen to the prophets. Don't listen to the fortune tellers. You will be in Babylon for 70 years. He says, then I'll come and I'll bring you back home. But don't listen to those liars. 2 years and all this mess. Listen to what Jeremiah told you. God says, for I know the plans I have for you. Plans for good, not disaster. To give you hope in a future. He says, and in those days when you pray, I will listen. You look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. And there's some other good stuff he promises them. And he then tells them about all the bad stuff that's going to happen to those people who decide to rebel and not listen and submit to Babylon. The Babylonians. He told them what was going to happen also to those ones who were lying in his name. And he pointed out one of those men, Shemaiah, who was sending them lies as well to Babylon, that it was going to go down. He was going to go down. But guys, this is some good stuff. I'm really enjoying it. Again, I love the heart of God. I see in his messages, you see the struggle that Jeremiah went through, but he went and he did. And you see, guys, they rather believe a lie over a truth than you have to look at the true fact. You know if you're sinning. And someone tell you, you're good. It's not so bad. Don't listen to those lies because you want to hear it. You better listen to the one that tells you, you know you're sinning. Get it right. There are consequences. Don't try to just live in it now. Think of the future repercussions of the choices you make. And so, again, I love this word. It's so good. Guys, get in and ask God for understanding. Ask him to give you a desire to read his word, to see him in his word, and to trust him the way he wants us to trust him, because he sure do want to bless us, guys. He wants to bless us. So, guys, again, this is day number 231, Jeremiah chapter 26 through 29. You guys have a God-filled, blessed day.